Hello and welcome to Chess Book Reviews 168. I've got three old books here, not that old. In fact, very useful really, which I thought I'd show you. I just selected them at random from my shelf, but it's a good shelf and these are good books. Let's have a look. This is called Problem Chess, Art and Magic on the Chessboard. And this is by Goran Forslund. He's going to forgive me if I mispronounce his surname. A wide-ranging introduction to the beauty and challenge of chess problems, and it's published by Gambit. In other words, Murray Chandler's lot. And Graham Burgess and John Nunn. It's edited and typeset by Graham Burgess. I'll read you just some of the introductory titles. What is a chess problem? Chess problems and problem chess. Entertaining to solve. Conventional problems. Retro analytical problems. So let's be honest, it does get pretty deep, pretty detailed and pretty deep quickly. Proof games. That's playing over games to prove that they actually exist. Otherwise, what's the point of a position if you can't, in a way, dissect it and work out how it arrived at that point? Exciting to explore, fairy problems, record attempts. There seems to be everything here. I could go on and on. Concepts, appendices, 3 indexes. Just turning once again, double columns. I would think, no disrespect, this is not a book for the faint-hearted. Unless you have tackled this sort of thing before. Let's see what the back says. This is a book for those who enjoy problem solving and appreciate clever solutions. In other words, you can't do it yourself. Or you can't work it out for yourself. So it's quite fun to get to a chess club or even at a chess tournament, but between rounds, set 1 or 2 up and people will come round like bees round a honeypot and will contribute stuff, sometimes quite good stuff. Readers are given the opportunity to solve most of the problems before being presented with the solutions. And the author has died. Oh dear. Oh dear. He was a computer software professional, had a PhD in computer science. Well, you try arguing with that. If you want more information about this book or other Gambit books, let me just show you again, www.gambitbooks, all in one word, .com. Readers are given the opportunity to solve most of the problems before being presented with the solutions. Or you can simply enjoy the book from cover to cover without ever needing to set up a chessboard. They quite frequently write that. I'm not sure I agree with it. It might be good to set up a chessboard or use a computer, electronic board in other words. Yes, many of the positions are very artificial, but they're also very interesting and amusing. Clearly, the author has given his time to this. Admittedly, most chess problems can be solved if you are clever enough and equipped with an infinite patience and about as much time. I don't think I'll read on any further. Who could disagree with that? When chess problems become too long, contain too many possibilities, when any other way become too hard for our poor brains to handle, they may cease to be suitable as mental exercises. What's that you say? You don't agree? Well, I'm not sure I'll let you do or you don't. Proof games, the Rubik cube of chess problems. Yes, that's what was interesting me. You have to try and work out how a certain position of it came about. The answer is look at that pawn on f3. How did that get there with the knight on b6? Interesting. Advanced, but interesting. That title again. Problem Chess, Art and Magic on the Chessboard. Boom. Now, this is a book that's been out for quite some years. It's called How to Build Your Chess Opening Repertoire, and the subtitle is A User-Friendly Guide to Choosing and Planning Your Openings. And this is by Mr. Steve Giddins, who was my predecessor. I claim no fame by that statement, as editor of the British Chess magazine. It was first published in 2003. And it is a gambit book like that one was. It's been out for some years. Let's see what we get. Let's look at the forward. The key to successful opening play, variety, the spice of life. Stylistics, main roads or side streets, move orders, sorry, I didn't read it very well, and transpositions, use and abuse of computers. Well, of course, all of that would have changed. That doesn't mean to say you don't want to read what he says, because I hope that you do. Universities, infidelity, and divorce. Some players' repertoires analysed. Openers can't live with them, can't live without them. He thanks Graham Burgess and also Belov, and I am Igor Belov, my chess trainer when I lived in Moscow. Mr. Giddins is a very great linguist. Know the aims of the opening, know the value of move orders, and understand typical positions. Recently, he's been working, not that recently, but in recent years, he's been working with my friend Gerard Welling, the Dutch IM. Little thing about Matthew Sadler, and another thing about Botvinnik in his use of his games, analysing his games against Keres. Well, there's an education for you even before you've begun. And then Kramnik Timon in the diagram. He talks about the French, about which he knows an astronomical amount. He quotes Kasparov, I think all openings are 100% sound, all normal openings, that is. It's just a question of your mood and your preparation. Well, Mr. Kasparov, you're a man who very often gets into bad moods. He shows various positions. Oh, I love that rook on g4. Have a look at that. If we can get that in. See that? Left-hand page, right-hand column. Sorry, I'm hopeless at this. Oh no, there it is. Look. What a lovely square. This book, the first to focus on these issues. Whether to play main lines, how to avoid being move ordered. In other words, tricked. How to use computers, if and when to depart from a change. If and when to depart from or change your repertoire. The last book I have for you is The Most Instructive Games of the Young Grandmasters by Paul Motwani. I met Grandmaster Motwani very briefly some years ago in Torquay, I think. He was with Stuart Rubin, just chatting, you know. Just have a little coffee. And I said that I haven't studied, but I bought all his books one time or another. And he asked me if I'd got this, and I hadn't. So, Paul, by way of recompense, this is an Everyman. And it's got 13 games by Avinchuk, Anand, Adams, Mickey, Shirov, Van Vili, Matthew Sadler, Gatakamsky, Topolov, Kramnik, Svidler, Judith Polgar, Tal Schacht, and finally Peter Liko. There's puzzles and tests, an index of games and puzzles, and an index of openings. Paul Motwani is a very unusual man, and he's a very unusual author. He's a teacher, probably retired now. I don't want to be inaccurate or disrespectful, but I think he went to Belgium, work called him there presumably, and became a teacher. And that's one of the reasons why he hasn't been in the chess eye, because, well, he's been doing other things. It's a pleasantly relaxed format. Let me show you. Double columns, but also fairly well spaced. I was going to say spaced out, but the structure is not cramming it all the time, but you know, space to enjoy. It gives details of the player under scrutiny, for example, chapter 11, Judith Polgar. And she's playing against Miloš. Poor old Miloš. I would consider Judith Polgar one of the finest chess writers of all time. If there's anything by Judith Polgar and you don't at least pick it up and have a good look through, you're making a big mistake. She is one smart cookie. There's Tricky Mickey Adams playing Kramnik. This book, let's have a look. Paul Motwani has selected the finest games, the brightest young stars of the 1990s. You must remember this was written some years back. Instructive positions, the former world under-17 champion. Yes, he won that. How about that? So there we are. A book to look for in a library, chess library, or if you've got it but haven't read it, now's your chance to dust it off. Paul is a philosopher. He's also a very unusual teacher. He won't necessarily agree with everything he writes, and you definitely may not agree with the way he's written it, but give it your time because he knows his onions. Also, it's interesting to look back because, well, this is where the current world, chess world, grew out of, isn't it? The most instructive games of the young grandmasters. So that's 3 books, that one, and that one. But before I go, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? Please like and subscribe down below. Thank you for your time. This has been Chess Book Reviews 168.